I am a huge fan of this new style in ladies' shirts where they're adding the thumb hole. Helps keep your hands warm, helps hold your shirt sleeve down, and I wanted to add it to some of my current shirts that don't currently have a thumb hole. Started looking online for some tutorials, and I found a lot of tutorials where you can add an extra cuff that has a built-in thumb hole, but that's not what I wanted to do for two reasons. One, I didn't want to add the extra length to the sleeves, and also I thought it would be really hard to find material that would match the existing shirt, and I wanted it to look like it came that way. So I started looking at old tailoring techniques, and I found this thing called a sleeve placket. Now, essentially what it is on a men's button-down shirt or a woman's, this hole right here is called a sleeve placket. And I thought, okay, well, I'm getting closer because that's kind of what I want. I just, I don't want the cuff. I don't want it to look like a fancy button down. I want it to look like my old shirt. But I decided I was gonna try and create that on some of my own shirts. So let me show you what I did. So I'm gonna cut 2 1/4 inch strips all the way down. I'm just creating a straight edge binding. If you don't know how to do this, check out my video on my YouTube channel. So now you have your 2 1/4 inch straight edge binding. Now you need to double fold it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold each raw edge into the middle, leaving a tiny little space where the fold is so it's easy to fold. So just like that, and then you're gonna iron it again. I have my double fold straight edge bias tape that I just made, and I have my shirt that I want to add the thumb hole to, and I'm going to do it right at the seam of the shirt. So what you're going to do is you're just going to cut this seam, and I found you need about 4 inches to work with to make a comfortable thumb hole. So we're gonna cut 4 inches. So I'm gonna cut through here and then just keep cutting till you get about 4 inches. So let me see where that is. Okay, so here's about 4 inches. I'm just gonna open up this seam right at 4 inches. And then there is a little bit of bulk. You're gonna wanna trim that out. So I have my sleeve and I have where I've cut it open about 4 inches, and now I'm going to attach my double folded binding starting at one end, leaving a little bit of an overhang, and just start pinning the shirt inside the double folded binding. Okay, and then when you get to this seam,
you're just gonna keep pinning as if it's a straight line. So you're just gonna tuck that seam up in there as far as you can, like it's a straight line. Here's my seam just tucked open in there. So you just, here's your seam, and you just open it all the way up. There's that seam right there, and I just have it opened up. And then once you get to the end, you just want to trim off, just leaving a little bit extra on the end to work with. But here's that sleeve, and then you cut it open, and then you just pin your binding in a straight line, as straight as you can, just opening that seam up where you trimmed it. And then you're just going to sew a straight line right along that edge all the way down, as if it's just a straight long piece of binding. And then here is your finished piece sewn on. Now we just need to connect it, and I'm going to show you how to do that next. Okay, so I have finished sewing the piece of binding on, and I have this turned inside out now. These are the inside seams, and I'm going to show you how to finish the sleeve. So what you need to decide is, was the sleeve too tight, too loose? If it was too loose, this is a great opportunity to make it a little bit smaller. So what you can do is lay these right on top of each other, fold that extra piece of binding over, and then you just top stitch right here over and over, because you want a pretty strong hold right there. And that'll make the sleeves a little bit thinner when you turn it inside out or right side out. The other thing you can do is, if the sleeves were the perfect width, you don't want to change anything, you can butt them right up against each other, grab a piece of your extra binding, lay it on top, and then what you want to do is, you can either sew right here, sew a little square, fold this over so you see a finished edge, and that will make the sleeves the same width as when you started. Or if you need like a little extra room, you thought they were, too tight. If you thought the sleeves were too tight, you can add a little bit of extra room there. Add a piece of binding and then sew your square here, and then come over to this other side, sew your square here, and that'll give you a little bit more room in there. So you decide where you want your sleeves to end. I think I'm going to butt them up next to each other. I liked the width that the sleeve was already, so I'll put a little piece of binding right here, fold this over, and then I'm just gonna stitch it down, do a square right here. So this is really bulky, so sew it gently, be gentle on your machine. Okay, so what I have is, there's a piece of binding inside there. It's underneath these guys. You're not really going to be able to see it. You can see it a little bit right there. but you're not going to really be able to see it inside there. And then I folded those extra pieces over. And then I'm just going to stitch it down. I'm going to try and follow these seams that are already there so you don't really notice. Trim this inside there. And then I'm just going to stitch it down. Okay, after you're done sewing the piece at the top, then you're gonna wanna come down here and sew a 45-degree angle right here. And here's what your finished thumb hole looks like that you just created.